Greetings in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, and welcome to Region Resplendence, a program of the American Baptist Churches of Greater Indianapolis. I am 𝗥𝗲𝗴𝗶𝗶𝐴, Executive Minister of the region, your host for today. The American Baptist Churches of Greater Indianapolis is one of the 33 regions of the American Baptist Churches USA and Puerto Rico, and it is comprised of approximately 15,000 members in 38 congregations in the city and suburbs of Indianapolis, Indiana. Of those 38 congregations, 14 are of European ancestry, 8 are Burmese immigrants and former refugees, 7 are descendants of enslaved Africans, 4 are of Central and South American immigrants, and 4 more are blended or becoming blended, and 1 is comprised of refugees from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Burundi, and Rwanda. And I, of Caribbean origins, have the honor and joy to serve this region. We call our program Region Resplendence because we are a tapestry of God's diverse peoples, teeming with God's beauty, resplendent in God's color and brilliance, and set forth in America to shine in the glory of God. There are many stories in our region, and each one reflects the light and glory of God. It's my joy to welcome today to the studio for this, our 5th episode, one of the region's longest-serving pastors, the Reverend Dr. Clarence Moore, Senior Pastor of New Era Northside Church, and whom I frequently call my elder brother. He's older than I am, not by much. Dr. Moore, welcome and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Dr. Friday. It's such a blessing to spend this time with you.
We want to talk with you a little bit today. And to share with the region and with people beyond a little bit about what's happening. You're retiring, and I'm pretty sure if I ask you how many days from now you might be able to say it, but I won't test you. He's retiring at the end of next month, and so I wanted to ask, how did you know that the time had come?
Yeah, you know, I've been contemplating this season of transition 2 years now. I knew it was the right time, number one, because I didn't want to be one of those pastors that stayed too long. Our church is still growing, it's still very vibrant. I wanted to leave out at a time when the new pastor could come in and not have to rebuild, but that he could just re-augment or build onto. And also, I promised my wife, we've been at this 40 years, I promised her I wouldn't go past age 70 in a lead pastor position. And so I turned 70 in a few days. And so I wanted to keep my promise. And I heard from the Lord. You know, the Lord said that, your season is winding down. Of course, ministry, you never stop ministry, but the lead pastor role is something that the Lord said is time. And so that's kind of how I came to that conclusion.
Well, sure. You know, you've been married for 40 years, you said?
Really been married for 47 years.
47 years,
Yes, but I've been in ministry 40 years.
Right. So you got to keep that promise for your wife, because it would be a tragedy to be hearing about a divorce after 47 years.
I tell you, one other thing that helped me, Dr. Friday, was I had a member of my church. Most of you know him or heard of him, is Tony Dungy. And Tony Dungy, he and I sat down the latter part of his football coaching career. And he had a lot of juice left in the tank. But he had promised his wife at a certain point of his career, he would let football go. And he would come home to spend those years with her. And he kept that. And that was about 8 years ago. He shared that with me. So that helped my decision too.
And you know what? The truth is that the call to ministry is a shared discernment between the called person and the congregation, either from which the person is coming or to which they're going. And so the sense of discernment about when it's time to go really is best placed within the congregation as well, whether choice people or the whole congregation or persons like Tony.
So absolutely, So you get wisdom, you know, it's, you get them, iron sharpens iron.
Indeed.
So I learned from my parishioners parishioners and as they learn from me. And so I said, you know, that's a great model. He kept his word, and he was on top of his game.
Right.
And so, yeah.
And you'll be on yours too.
Yes.
So what are you looking forward to the most? What do you think you'll miss the most?
I think what I'll miss most are the relationships that I was able to build. I've always thrived, my intention was to be the kind of pastor that would know his people, know his flock. And so I pretty much know the names of most of my members, their children. I'm going to miss those relationships, you know, and that's the big part. And I ran into Dr. 𝗥𝗲𝗴𝗶 before he passed away a few years back, and in the restroom, and I asked him, I said, Dr. Taylor, you're one of the greatest preachers that ever lived. I says, what do you miss about pastoring? He said, the people. Yeah.
What do you think you'll miss the least?
I think what I miss the least is I'm trying to think, in the words of John Massey, the burdensome joy of pastoring. It's both a joy and a burden.
Yeah,
it's always something to do. Even as we sit here, one of our oldest members called me and wanted to have dinner before we leave, and trying to find time for everybody that wants to spend time with you.
Yeah.
People that are sick. We'll have a funeral tomorrow.
Yeah.
I miss that drudgery of ministry. So I think I'll miss that the least, but I really love the people.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the cross and
yes,
the burden of ministry. For the joy that was set before him. And so you've pastored Northside for 30 years.
35 years.
That's right, 35. I don't want to rob you. What are the biggest pieces of evidence of transformation that you've seen over that period?
Yeah, we took a struggling church in 1990 in the inner city that was dying, and they had about 50 members. When they called me, I won by 1 vote. And the pastors in the area said, you know, Reverend, I wouldn't come because I was living in Kokomo, Indiana at the time. The church is divided. Half the folk don't want you. Anyway, I said, what if that 1 vote is God? And it turned out to be that it was God's will that I would come. So the transformation I've seen is to see an inner city dying church become revitalized and vibrant. And a place where a lot of young children and youth and young families now call their spiritual home. And so that's the main transformation. And one other thing, the space that New Era is on used to be the headquarters of the KKK. And so when back in the 1930s, when the African American church bought that property, they found KKK paraphernalia in the basement and all. And now to see, on top of all that ignorance, to see how God has turned that thing around is another statement of revitalization, as the New Era Church is now the kind of church that's trying to build bridges between black and white and Hispanic congregations.
That big sign on the building opposite your parking lot that says Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
Is that the neighbors or is that New Era's?
That's actually New Era's. Yes, we own that house, and we put that there in the midst of some of the polarization and the political climate that we're in right now, where forces are trying to divide people along racial lines. When we're all God's children. And so we want people to know when you pull up in our campus that we value the lives of those that come through our doors, and black or white or whomever. But it's sad in America we have to say that. But, if anybody knows, the American Baptist here in Indianapolis Association, all the various diversity that you mentioned in your opening, we have to be proud of who we are as a people.
Exactly.
And,
So thanks. The transformation that you've seen in the congregation, did that happen commensurately with any transformation you saw in the neighborhood? You So you talked about it being an inner city. When I drive through that area, it doesn't feel inner city-ish. but what kind of transformation you've seen in the neighborhood alongside in the congregation?
Thank you. That's a great question. I contemplated, as the church was really growing in the early 2000s, late 1990s. I said, guys, maybe we should think about moving the ministry into the suburbs to become larger and more, And it was my wife who sat down with me over a cup of coffee. She says, honey, I think we should stay here because I really believe there's going to come a time when people come around 65 Highway, they're going to look down and see something very amazing. There's something good in the hood. And so what we've seen as we have grown, as we have revitalized the ministry, as we have cleaned up the area, bought dilapidated houses and now parking, and now of course gentrification is coming into the area. We right down from the Children's Museum. I'm sure they contemplated moving out at some point. But now basically the downtown areas and all the reconstruction is coming toward us. And so we're now probably going to be in the middle of middle upper class community before long.
So that's a wonderful segue for my next question. What, as a retiring pastor, as someone who's done this kind of ministry for 35 years, what would you say is the biggest task for the Black church in America, in the current iteration of America that we have today?
Yeah, I tell you what I see going on. For a while there, a lot of our young African American professionals were migrating to the larger white congregations because the African American church, most of us didn't have the resources, the children's ministry areas, and just the resources to
and not stick up in, that would be the white congregations, that would be the mega church type.
The mega church type, yeah, I'm thinking more of the mega church type. They were drawing people from, even from our smaller white congregations, in Africa. They were drawing all people from all over, and so, but when it comes to some of the racial polarization that's taking place in our culture today, a lot of those young people, African Americans that are sitting in those white churches, don't feel a part anymore. And one of the reasons New Era is growing and grabbing young families, I won't call any church names, but they're coming back. I call it coming back into the fold because they're looking for hope. They're looking for someone that values them. There was this pre-notion that we're all one until
we're not.
We're not, yes. And so as long as you assimilate, we can relate. But when you try to be who you are, then it becomes an issue.
We still have to learn the craft or the skill of unity with diversity.
Absolutely.
Diversity and unity.
That is where, and that was Jesus Christ's last prayer before he went to Calvary, that we would be one. And it breaks his heart that we have movements in America and across the nation that to me, I call it an idolatry of whiteness, and power and prejudice creates racism.
Would you say that? So our region is pretty diverse: Latino, Burmese, white, black, and blended, and so on. Let me press the question a little further. Is there something unique to the African American congregations that only the Black church could provide, that the Burmese, the Latino can't in the way African Americans could, to the healing of this phenomenon that you referenced?
Absolutely. I think that the posture of the African American worshiper and African Americans who've embraced Christianity have never had the posture of revenge. We've always had the posture. So we're not trying to replace anybody. We just want to sit at the table. And I think the way we approach life, our ability to forgive, our ability to say, and I think we're kind of the soul of the church, in that if you want to really see a model of reconciliation, a model of redemption. The black church is that. The way we've been treated in America and how we posture ourselves. You won't see African Americans out shooting up a bunch of white people because they're white. Because we just don't, we just want to be a part of a movement that's going to elevate the message of Christ.
Yeah.
And so I think what we bring, Dr. Friday, to the party and to the Christian movement is a sense of love, forgiveness, and brotherhood.
You know, it's interesting that the FBI, the current FBI director, did not know who Dylann Roof was. And I'm thinking about the act that he committed.
Yes.
The context in which he did it. A white man welcomed into a black church.
Yes. With all
prayer.
love. Yeah, for prayer.
Yeah. The journey is still long.
That's a great symbol of what I was trying to say there in Charleston, South Carolina, where this Bethel Church opened up their doors to a stranger who happened to be white.
Yeah.
And he hurt them.
Well, celebrate a lady called Hope for a moment. You know, you're talking about the time when you thought that hey, maybe it's time to hightail it out to the city, and a woman named Hope had a different idea. Tell us how you met Hope and what drew you to her, and then tell us a little bit about the partnership you've shared in ministry.
Thank you. You know, I have an amazing wife. I met Hope through a tragedy. I was dating a young lady in college that died in a car accident at Christmas time, 1975. I thought she was going to be my wife, and so in my misery, in my burdened moment, I got a letter from a young lady that I had met who was an incoming freshman. And she wrote me. She heard about what happened and told me that God was with me, that God was going to see me through this. And that letter from Hope sparked a friendship. And so I met her through that tragedy, and she came to my rescue. And since that day, she has brought hope throughout my life, throughout my difficult decisions. And she's been an amazing ministry partner in our 35 years at New Era Church. I've always told our church that you didn't just get a pastor, but you got a gem in the First Lady. And so she created probably, I think, the ministry that creates the most growth in our church. And that is she landed in children's ministry. And so we are attracting so many young families because now they're trying to get their children into a space where they can help them come alongside of these parents to help spark that faith in Christ that is going to sustain them, you know, in life. And so Hope has been an amazing partner in ministry. Most first ladies in the African American church will either they sing or they sit on the front row and look pretty. But for many years, I didn't see her in worship because she was downstairs conducting children's worship. So that's who my wife is, and she is, I would say, an amazing reason why New Era Church is who we are today.
Marvelous.
Yeah.
Marvelous. So you've led, you've co-led an initiative here in Indianapolis. Tell us the name of that initiative. Tell us what it does, how it came about, and what you hope to leave behind. Well, I mean, you're retiring from the congregation, but what are your plans for continuing with that ministry? Tell us about that ministry.
Yes, and are you talking about Together?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Together Indy was birthed out of a podcast, kind of like you and I, a conversation that you and I are doing today.
You better watch out now, folks.
You never know where this is going. And so the podcast, and so what happened was a white pastor, Jeff Krzyzewski of Common Ground Church here in the city, came to me and said, Pastor Moore, I see something in you that I think that I would like to know more about. And he says, I would like to build a relationship with you. And so we had coffee, and I told him, I said, well, my problem, a lot of times the relationships I built with white pastors is that when things get difficult and tough, they go away. They can fade back into the, into the what you want to say,
the silos.
Yeah, the silos. Yes, and that privilege that they enjoy.
Yeah.
And he says, I won't do that. He says, I really want to know more about, how I can be a better pastor and really, understand the racial issues and things that was going on. So we had coffee. Then we started a Shades of Hope podcast. I named it Shades of Hope because he's white and I'm the shade black. That's how I got the Shades of Hope. And so
you just had to get your wife's name in there.
And plus, there you go. Yeah, Shades of Hope. Yes, and don't let me get started about Hope's heritage because her two grandfathers way back are white. So anyway, yeah. So anyway, that's another whole story. But Shades of Hope podcast led to a vision Jeff had. He came to me and said, "I got a larger vision here." He says, "You've been such a blessing to me. A lot of young white pastors would like to know more about how they could become more open and understanding of the journey of people of color." And I said, okay. And that's how Together Indy got started. And now it is an organization that's growing. We got about 80 churches. And the sole reason is for pastors of Hispanic, white, black, and we hope that with you being around, we can add some other nationalities to the flavor of how do we first build relationships as brothers in Christ, and from that, I'll bring our churches along. So that's kind of what Together Indy is all about. I did retire from the board. We have my replacement, and a young man that I think is going to do a great job. But they made me board member emeritus because they're trying to keep me around the table.
Yeah.
So I'll be still working. I think racial reconciliation in a town like Indianapolis and across America, it's critical that the community see a model of what true love is.
Yeah.
And that's why I was very, and again, it goes back to the question you asked. I think that's our role, Dr. Friday. When you became part of this movement as our executive director here in this area, my heart was warmed to see the association hire someone of African descent, but someone of the kind of prestige and what you bring to the table is just excellent. And I think that watching you move around the city, building bridges among races is something that I want to continue to do too.
Thank you. And once again, a segue into my next question. I mean, and I wanted to say when you said you retired from the board, I wanted to say you could retire people, but you can't retire wisdom.
That is the truth. That is so
and
true.
once wisdom is in the room, you shouldn't retire it, right?
Absolutely, you shouldn't. If you're smart, if you're wise.
So I wanted to ask, like most African American congregations in ABC, American Baptist Churches Alive, Northside and nearer Northside is dually aligned. You're both American Baptist and National Baptist.
Yes.
Tell us what, and you've been American Baptist for a much briefer time than you were National Baptist.
Right.
What drew you to ABC? What compelled you to lead New Era in?
Two things. I think the theme we've been espousing as we've been talking is me wanting to be a bridge in the African American community to our white brothers. And I know the history of the American Baptist movement and how they split from the Southern Baptists as around.
Or the Southern Baptist split from.
Yeah, there you go. They kicked you out and did something. I don't know which way it was. Yeah, because of the slavery and so that I was intrigued by that once I learned your history. But secondly, as in many cases, I felt the American Baptist Convention and Association had more resources to provide for, because in the National Baptist Conventions, great fellowship, great camaraderie, but they don't have a lot of resources for pastors when it comes to retirement benefits and those things. And so that was another reason.
MMBB,
that's right.
Ministers and Missionaries Benefit Board.
That's exactly. And so MMBB was another reason that it was one of our pastors, Dr. Philip James. that came over and talked to me about his affiliation with the American Baptist. And I think his church was there maybe even
they've been in a while, a long
yes.
time, yes.
And so that was another reason that I migrated over to have a dual partnership with the National Baptist Movement and the American Baptist Movement. Now, the truth of the matter is, I spent more time in the American Baptist Movement earlier on than I did in the National Baptist Movement. And I'm hoping that our new pastor, who I don't know what his tendencies are going to be, hopefully he would continue the relationship with our American Baptist brothers and sisters.
That search was broader than just NBC, or the pastoral search for your replacement. How wide did your congregation search?
Yeah, it was a nationwide search. It was. We had candidates from, we had a couple from outside of the United States. I think they were military pastors. So it's been from California, from New York, Florida, and quite a bit of interest in even in the Midwest. And
both NBC and National Baptist and beyond as well.
Exactly, all those conventions. We've even had some apostolic folk approaches. And some folk from the 𝐒𝐥𝐚𝐫𝐞. And so it's been the denominational barriers are breaking down. And so, definitely we've had pastors that applied that have an American Baptist affiliation, but also have a National Baptist affiliation. And then some that are non-denominational.
So we're yet to see what surprise God is going to bring to Indianapolis.
Absolutely, we are. So it's been we've had over 300 applicants. So far, only one is still on the table. And so we ask all of you that listen to this, hopefully by the time this airs, we will have a pastor. But if not, keep praying for the New Era Church.
We're likely to air a few hours from now. So.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. So I probably should have asked this much earlier. Your journey to the call. How you tell us about your journey from youth to ministry. You weren't like me now. I graduated high school in July of the year. I graduated, and in August of that year I was in a Bible college.
Wow.
And then the rest is history. Not so with you, right?
No.
Okay, tell us about that.
Not with me, though my mother tells me stories. As I was growing up, at 11 years old, I was instrumental in starting a new church as one of the youth, and I helped remodel the church. I've always kind of been a unique kid. When my friends and all when we were in high school, they'd be going to parties. I would look for the next revival. So I would be sitting in a revival on Friday night, listening to preachers, and but didn't sense a call. I just sensed a call to Christ, but didn't sense a call to ministry. And so my mother tells a story when I was 13 or so. The community cat passed away, and I called all the kids together, and I eulogized Morris was his name, and she was reminding me of that when she came to the gala, retirement celebration. And so down through the years, when I got to college, I was the leader of our African American organization and led us to develop a gospel choir and all. So I went off to took a job at General Motors, got involved in that church, became a deacon. And God tapped me on the shoulder at the age, 30, and said, "Hey, I want more from you." And I'm thinking, wait a minute, God, I'm directing the choir, I'm a deacon, I'm teaching Sunday school.
Building cars.
Yeah, building cars, trying to grow a family. And he said, "No, I need you." And so I answered the call. And then 6 years, and then went off to seminary. So I started in my middle age. I wish I'd been like you. I no telling who I would be today if I started right out of college, right out of high school. But I didn't see that wasn't, it wasn't for me. And it's amazing how God takes us to different paths and different ways. And so I was 35 when I took my first church, but 30 when I started in ministry. Yeah,
you only lost 10 years. When I was out of seminary, I was 25. So.
Oh, okay, yeah. But I do wish that I had started younger.
Yeah, that's one of those things about useful life. When your life has turned out useful, You always, anybody I know who has that story, they always wish, the one wish they have is, I wish I had done it earlier. But you can't go back, you just cherish the fact that you did, and trust God that the seeds that God has planted through you are germinating and would bring forth much fruit later on.
I got a card yesterday, that germination, and even when I was there before I became a minister, a lady emailed me, she sent me a card rather, and those were her words, that you and Hope have always been a light for the kingdom of God. And I thought, wow, that I hadn't seen her in 40 years almost. But she reminded me.
The impact
was... The impact, even when I wasn't so-called the label minister, I was still ministering.
Sure.
Because God was shining and working through us. And that's right. That's what it's all about, is at the end of the day, we in the African American experience, we talk about crossing that Jordan River and hearing God say, well done. Thy good and faithful servant.
Well, thank you. One final question then. Once again, a segue into my final question. You're riding out into the sunset. And while there are fewer than there used to be, but there are young ministers coming in. Enrollment is down in the seminaries. It's a tough time for the church on a whole, and one of the impacts is fewer people coming in. But there are people who are still coming into ministry. You're riding out, they're coming in. As you're passing them on your way out and they're coming in, what nuggets, what kinds of advice you're going to give? So suppose there was a group of a room full of young ministers, male, female, mixed, and you stood up to give them some wisdom. What would you say to such a
Wow. That's an excellent
for
question.
in America in a time like this.
Yes, at a time like this. Wow. I'm going to say I've been invited at least 5 lunches with young pastors or young men who are hoping to have asked that, hey, would you consider doing some classes and teaching on how, this is what the young minister called me yesterday. My wife and I were riding down the road, and he called and I answered the phone. He says, I just want you to know that it's wonderful to see a model of a minister who finishes strong and didn't have any kind of drama. Nothing happened. And I know what he was talking about. And to see somebody just be so consistently and do so well over 35 years, he said, Pastor, I hope to be like you one day. And I said, young man, you're on your way. You understand the value of picking up the phone and calling an older minister and encouraging him. That's who I was 30, 40 years ago. I love being around the older pastors and learning from them. I said, so you're on your way. I said, he says, well, can I call you every now and then and get some wisdom nuggets from you? I said, yes. And so I've been asked 3 or 4 times about what, when Grandma would make her pie, Grandma didn't have a recipe. She would have a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and no one could really duplicate that.
Intuition.
Yes, it's intuition. And so when people ask me, what are those nuggets that you, and I'll say, wow, man, a little of this, a little of that. Can you write it? No, it's something that, and you said it. I had a young pastor come to me and said, hey, can you take me around and so you can maybe transfer your wisdom and trust that you have with the people you're going to introduce me to. I said, oh, you can't transfer trust and wisdom, young man. You earned that. And that's what you were alluding to earlier. And so I would say every day to that young pastor, whomever he or she is, every day strive to hear God's voice, to love God's people, and to be open to fresh and creative ideas from the Holy Spirit as you develop ministry, as you activate ministry. But loving everybody. That's what people want. The letters I'm getting, people don't remember your ministry, but they remember the moments they had with you and I. And those moments add up and pile up to where when I announced I was going to retire, the tears in our church.
Yeah.
And I had a deacon come up to me and say, man, you're the first pastor that we're asking to walk out the front door and not trying to get him out the back door. So I would say to those young people, you know, one day at a time.
Yeah.
Love the people. Listen to God. And be open to the creative mind of the Holy Spirit guiding you as you minister.
And one more thing that you said right up at the top. Become somebody's mentee.
Yes.
Seek a mentor. In
Seek
fact,
a
seek
mentor.
more than one mentor. Seek the wisdom.
Absolutely.
Of those.
Yeah, because one mentor is not enough because he has weaknesses and certain proclivities and propensities. But having some other people that you learn from and you take from is very so.
Because it's a shared ministry. I mean, it's our ministry. I mean, it's his ministry that we get to share.
Yes, absolutely.
You're at New Era and I'm somewhere else, but it's the same ministry.
Absolutely.
And we learn and draw company and wisdom from each other.
Absolutely.
Well, Dr. Moore, thank you for spending this time with us today.
Thank you, Dr. Friday.
We want to wish you all the very best, you and Hope, for the retirement ahead. I hope that you have some grand trip somewhere planned for her, you know, or she for you.
Yeah, she's taking me to the grandchildren's house. So that's the grandest moment we have right now. But,
Absolutely.
I'm thankful and grateful. I think they're going to take me I'll turn 70 in a few days, and so they're planning a trip next summer.
Good.
For us to go to Alaska. That's been one of my dreams. So
my wife and I were in Alaska. I think it was last year.
Oh, wow! I have to call you up and see what to look for.
Make sure you stay. But depending on the time of the year you go, make sure you stay in the northern part more than one night in order to catch the northern lights. Because we got only one night in the northern part, and there was a lot of cloud cover and more time in I forget. Fairbanks is the one, and then Anchorage is on the southern side. Fairbanks, But
I'll pick your brain a little later.
Good. And all the very best to you.
God bless you. And same to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You are a light into our community, and we pray you keep shining bright.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you, sir.
And folks, thank you for joining us for this time, and we hope that you've enjoyed this episode. Join us another time with Region Resplendence from the American Baptist Churches of Greater Indianapolis. May God bless you.